going on, guys? How we doing? Mike, what's
Hey,
happening?
brother, good morning.
I have a question, seeing as Mike's on. Obviously, I know Mike, we've met a few times, but I think it's interesting, Dave, everyone sees you every week. Obviously, you have Mike as your business partner. So I guess it's an interesting question, maybe, like, how does this work? You guys are buying rentals. So, like, what is Mike doing versus what are you doing?
Our personalities, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, we both have the same end game or like long-term vision of having a large rental portfolio, continual growth, continual business growth. But we just have very different kind of attitudes and philosophies about day to day and how to do things. I mean, both of us obviously growth minded. So we've divided things up, over the years different ways because we've had other partners that we've bought out over the years.
We started with 4, Gavin, and we're down to 2,
Yeah.
which is great because,
Yep.
and I don't want to do it on my own. I don't think he does either. But splitting the pie 4 ways is hard. Splitting it 3 ways is not much better. So now it's 50-50. It just makes sense. And
So,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. So Dave does the talking, and I do the thinking behind the scenes.
That's
It's
right.
kind of the division of
Yeah.
labor. No, in all seriousness, I would say it's more of, if you look at the EOS system, so the traction book, I'm sure you guys have talked about that in the past, or if you're not familiar with it, check it out, the entrepreneurial operating system. I would say Dave is more visionary. He likes new things. He likes jumping into the new things and thinking about
Shiny
big
objects.
shiny objects. And then I am
The
more of
yes man.
That's right. And I'm more of the integrator or the technician where I hopefully help make things work together and help things flow.
I think the reason that it works is because you're different. What partnership ever works when you're the same people?
100%. Now, we both do acquisitions and manage the
Yeah.
team together, of course. I
Yeah.
love running appointments. So I tell everybody, hey, send me out. I want to meet people. I want to shake some hands. I want to talk. Love doing that. Mike will run them as well, but I love running them. So I'll do as many as I can. And
I'd rather look at an empty house.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, look at me and Joe, for instance, on the education side.
Absolutely.
We couldn't be. We're very different.
Once we get the deal and we get it under contract, Mike, he basically carries a lot of the load, right? But my goal is to just find as many deals and motivate the team. And obviously, I'm more heavy on the coaching side of the business as well. So yeah, divide and conquer. We share, but again, if something's, if ball's getting dropped here or there, we help each other. We step in and pick that stuff up. So teamwork, man. At the end of the day, we share a common goal. And that is we have a long-term approach to things. Of course, we're going to wholesale or do some fix and flips to make money now and to pay the bills and to keep the office and the overhead and all the, team. But we are, and I said this yesterday, we're addicted to investing. And we share that goal. Now, obviously, there's a limit to how much you can put into the long-term play. You got to feed the business. You got to pay the bills, right? But if it's up to, Mike and I, and we can choose between getting paid now a little bit or getting paid a whole lot later, we typically choose the latter. So we share that. That's definitely something that we share. The after repair value is after repairs. So if the house hasn't been touched for 70 years, I don't know the square footage of this home, but let's assume it's, 1,500 square foot. That's a pretty decent average size for a home. And if it hasn't been touched in 70 years, you're looking at 30 to 40 bucks a foot minimum, right? So you're looking at 50, 60 grand minimum.
Depending on where it is as well.
Yeah, we have no idea
where it is.
Right? But either way, it's, 50, 60 minimum. And if you're going to be able to get 350 after you fix it up, you have to put 50 to 60 in it and cover holding and closing and interest charges. And that's without even a profit. So if you pay 350 for this property and put money into it and it's only worth 350, you're going to lose. So my advice would be to move on. Gavin, Mike, what would you say? I mean, we don't have enough info, of course, but
I think there's wants and needs, isn't there? When we talk about highly motivated, well, what is that? There's wants. What I want and what I need are two different things, and you've got to get to what they need, and that's obviously down to the negotiation, right? I could be
100%.
highly motivated, and I really want you, Dave, will you please buy my house? But I want $1 million for it, even though it's only worth $7 million. But I want $1 million. I really need the money. Will you pay me $1 million? I can come across very highly motivated, but you ain't going to pay it. You know what I mean? So there's wants and needs, and you've got to get down. You've got to get past that and actually find out what that core problem is to find out what's actually necessary and going on. So yeah, as Dave's just explained, based on that theory, then the numbers wouldn't work.
If I was to look at this, 350 is my ARV, so I'm gonna start there. So that's where I start. 350. I'm gonna multiply that by, let's say, 0.75. I'd like to go at 0.7, but the inventory is a little low. I'm gonna go a little higher. We'll go to 0.75. That puts me at 262, and then I got to take my repairs out. So assuming the repairs are, let's just say they're 50,000, I'm gonna take off 50. That puts my MAO, my max allowable offer, at 212. So what would you offer in that case, Mike? Not 212.
No, probably. 200,
190 to 200.
Just because he is, wanting 350, but I think you've got to kind of explain to him that's not going to work.
Which is a little over half.
Yeah.
Of the ARV. So yeah, definitely don't pay that.
So, and again, I don't know Mr. Perfect's situation. So, what do you do in a situation like this? Like, we're also agents. So I might, or again, you might know agents, you might want to refer this to someone to list. Again, if they're really stuck on getting the highest dollar, but they aren't truly motivated, like Gavin said, it might be a better referral for a listing agent. $350,000 commission, it's what, 10 grand, something like that.
Yeah, maybe
so it's not a bad listing commission. So that might be the way to go. Or put them on long-term follow-up if the house hasn't been touched since the 1950s and is not in a livable state. Then maybe it's long-term follow-up.
Agreed.
Yeah, you got creative finance as well, right? If there's no mortgage on this, because people assume that they might not need all the money, right? They might need 10 grand right now, 20 grand right
but
now.
Still though, okay, so I was getting ready to actually say creative finance might be a good play here. But guys, lesson number 1 of real estate investing, and these are Dave's lesson. This isn't, this is my opinion, of course. But lesson number 1 is you make your money when you buy, you get paid when you sell. So even if you're able to get this on owner financing for $350K with no money out of pocket, if it needs 80 grand with repairs, you're not getting a discount.
Yeah, you're right. I still won't be paying that.
Get a deal, or at most pay what the current value is, not the ARV. Guys, we make money when we buy. Not when we sell. We get paid when we sell, but we make money when we buy. So if you're not building in equity into the offer or into the deal, you're going to be at risk of, losing money or even breaking even. And I'll tell you, when I first started investing, I was really more so focused on the profit. Like, how much profit can I make when I make an offer at this amount? And as I've matured as an investor, I've kind of taken a different approach. And now it's, how bad can I screw up and still break even?
Yep.
Right. So I'm padding in a ton of equity in the beginning. And if I don't screw up, which I often don't, that's the goal, then we make a good profit. But if I do, I still want to be able to break even. I don't want to lose. That's, lesson number 2, don't lose money. So
and you don't
prevent losing money, you buy at a deep discount.
100%. And you don't want to become a motivated buyer, right? Which a lot of people do, right? When you become a motivated buyer, that's when you start panic buying, right? You need your first deal, or you need a deal. So you start paying over because you want to get the deal when the numbers don't work, which happens a lot, especially in a market like this. To get competitive, you have to stick to your numbers in what we do. And that's sometimes where wholesale comes in, because you can't really go wrong other than losing time and marketing dollars, right? Because if someone's not going to buy it from you, you can't move the deal anyway. So you'll learn real quick. But when you start buying them, like you guys are buying a lot, like, you have to make sure, as you just said, Dave, you've got to stick to your numbers that work. Because there's always someone else who's going to pay more than you.
Always.
Doesn't mean they're going to make any money, but they'll pay more than you.
Mr. Perfect says, do you prefer meeting with the seller face-to-face or sending them a contract with the offer? So this is a great question, because Gavin probably doesn't meet sellers face-to-face because he's virtual. He may or may not have boots on the ground in that area that will. But Mike and I, we don't really do much virtual, if any. And our goal is, right?
Yep.
So you have 2 different paradigms or 2 different approaches here, right? Do you try to build rapport on the phone and send an offer first and then send your people out after the fact? Or do you try to build as much rapport as possible? And personally, I like to see the white in the seller's eyes. I want to shake their hand. I want to walk around the property and listen to them talk about all the memories and, you know, all the, maybe there's certain things that are wrong that they can point out, because it's going to help me build that know, like, and trust, which we like to refer to as rapport, to where we can win the deal. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's really a preference. Wouldn't you agree with that?
100%.
You're going to close more face to face. You're going to. I mean, it's a fact. But in my argument is, by the time you've drove out there, you've spent an hour with a seller, you've come home. How many more calls could I have done? So I have to do more volume than you, but you will be a better close ratio than me, and that's. But then it depends. If you're virtual, you don't have a choice, right? So that kind of makes that up. But if I'm local, and I want to do it that way, I mean, going on appointments, I think it is definitely a preference, really.
Yeah, and there's a time and a place for virtual, right? And there's a time and a place to get out and meet the seller. Like we're typically trying to buy rentals and fix and flips. That's our number one goal. Wholesaling is a secondary thing to us. So as somebody that's looking to buy and own it, even if it's only for 4 to 6 months, ideally longer, we are looking to get in the house and inspect it ourselves. So being the face-to-face appointment running, it makes sense for us because the asset we're looking at, we want to own, we want to buy it. Whereas if you're wholesaling, you don't necessarily need to get into the property. You don't care as much. So yeah, agreed. I think preference definitely matters. Gavin, one tip, quick, what you got?
Well, I mean, I don't go to in person because that's what he asked. But I think it's the same as Mike just said on the phone, right? If you got someone in New York, they don't want your sales BS. They want to be direct. Tell me the number. Let's get to business. Someone in the South, you're gonna have to build rapport, soft spoken. The same thing on the phone. You match. You make sure that you stay on the same level. So I think that's really good. So I just want to kind of, reiterate that. But I mean, there's so many when it comes to.
There's 100 of them, right? My advice would be make a friend, guys. People want to work with those that they know, like, and trust. I said that earlier. And negotiating gets easy when the person that you're negotiating with doesn't dislike you.
Another one real quick, because I didn't really give one, was you've got to solve the problem. It's not about you, it's about them, right? You're not going, how much money can I make? You're going to find the problem, solve the problem, and then you will be rewarded by making money. So focus on them, not you.